Welcome back to Apocalypse and Genesis. According to the Babylonians, the apocalypse officially begins this weekend. The Bible suggests our war and famine will last 3.5 years. My best guess, in 6 months, you are dealing with a brand new world, for better or worse, depending on who's in charge. And this will be subject to change quickly. I believe this picture of the Inanna seal illustrates the problem. The equinoctial Virgo eclipse it pictured will happen Sunday. Venus, assuming control of Leo from Regulus, happens tomorrow. What this means is that we are about to hit Ram 4, which is midnight here in the Garden of Good and Evil. The 0 hour, Apocalypse and Genesis. One precession ends and another begins, Sunday night upon the solar eclipse. 2 days later, your Jews and Christians will be looking for a Mashiach or two. See Deuteronomy 18. One thinks like God. One is his less than trustworthy mouthpiece. Isaiah 9:15. The ancient and honorable, he is the head, and the prophet that teacheth lies, he is the tail. So, for example, the truth teller of the Old Testament was Levi, the Baal worshiper and voice of Elohim, while the Yahweh interpreter was Moses. Testament of Judah 21. First century Jews expected John the Baptist to die for telling the truth, which he did. And Jesus, sent to wander the wilderness, was seen as the less reliable rabble-rouser. Using our Illuminati schedule laid out in the card game 30 years ago, Charlie Kirk was the truth teller, while somebody else is playing Prince of the People. Daniel 7:24, card 345. Our special year began with the Pinnacle of Pentacles on March 22nd, 23rd. The vernal equinox of the 5 Ahau was the 5th inferior conjunction of Venus in 8 years. At that point, the goddess began her final descent into the underworld. Now, as she arrives Regulus with the moon tomorrow, all bets are off as to how elites want to end history for God's big redo. When I say all bets are off, well, that is sort of an indication that people can no longer trust anyone. I mean, if you were living in that famous strip along the Mediterranean, would you pay attention to the flyers coming down saying head for the beach? Or would you assume that coming from the worst actor on the world stage, it means that it's somebody's new preferred killing field? For that matter, if Trump or Kennedy told you to take a new vaccine, would you get the shot? Don't answer that. You know what I mean. When I started working on this video, I planned to get into the ceremony and what each part meant, the primitive initiation of people into the cosmic cycle. And that's when I noticed the Sumerians and Babylonians pointing to the story of Venus falling from Aquarius to Leo as beginning the pole shift, such as you find in Revelation 13:4. For more apocalyptic fun, see Isaiah 13 and 24, Revelation 6, Job 9, 2 Kings 21. Metaphysically, I believe what is coming will be a tearing of the veil. Venus told her father she would bring back the dead. Virgil said a golden race is about to descend from heaven. And let's be honest, we've at least one generation of people here absolutely fed up and ready to go home. In the periodic cataclysm that engages the poles, Earth and sky part ways. Last time, the sky hung a hard right, and Orion chased the Pleiades that had previously followed him. This time, sky hangs a hard left, and the question is whether the ancient statues of Hercules and a lion skin were really about Leo replacing the constellation of that name, or whether it implied a full reversal of Leo overtaking Aquarius. Ezekiel 1, Revelation 4. Science says a pole shift takes 2,000 years. Plato says Atlantis, let's call it America, went under the waves for a day and a night. So our generation will see who was right. See Plato's Timaeus and Critias if you're interested in the ancient perspective. Here's a stone of the creation of 19,000 years ago when Aquila fell from the east to replace the god of the north, Ursa Major, sometimes portrayed as a mastodon, dragon, or boar. The stone is from Canaan, but 13,000 years before the Middle East became the site of our present creation. Yeah, history that they tell us attempts to ignore the ancient past. That way the elites can treat population bottlenecks as a mystery. Anyway, look carefully on the right side. Tree of Life fell left. The Aleph, probably Planet X, looking like a dove, flew north and west. Leo and Marduk rose up from the south. And between Leo and Ursa Major flew a great comet at the time of a pole shift. If you're into old stones of the Americas, I highly recommend Michael Forrest's book, Forbidden Relics. It's awesome. Here you can see Jesus, in saying he was the Alpha and Omega, was preparing us for a moment, this time at the dividing line of history. Aleph was the Aries dragon, Planet X traversing the land of Elohim in the north. Omega referred to the Leo, Nibiru, Marduk end of things, down by Yahweh. Our most dangerous time of history will be when one side overwhelms the other. Orion again is sitting between the equinoxes, and we're anticipating a conjunction of planet X with that little southern star, which sounds like the poles suddenly heading for the equator, doesn't it? Anyway, see Ken White, World in Peril, or Chan Thomas, The Adam and Eve Story. As of August 20th, for $105, you can buy America's first laser engraved coin, a Proof 2025 Walking Liberty Silver Eagle. U.S. Mint joined Canada and Singapore in using this counterfeit proof method for producing premium collectibles. What I found interesting about the coin is its fancy privy mark behind Liberty's butt. Supposedly they just wanted to signify this pioneering laser etching, but there's a strange coincidence as to where they placed the mark. In the next 2 months, right behind Virgo, is precisely where we are supposed to spot Atlas 3I and Nibiru. And I guess the question is, how strongly do you believe in coincidences? Personally, I tend to discount the concept altogether. Here is a Babylonian prophecy tablet, and I'm afraid we're fast approaching the harvest. The charts at the bottom are indicative there's something going on with the universe as we approach the great event. Something that has nothing to do with carbon emissions. Comets are up, volcanoes are up, earthquakes are up. Soon will come great flares of the sun, and it's like both heaven and earth are ready to accomplish something drastic. God and Lady Gaia recognize this current mess is unsustainable. Perhaps that's why ET is due back to lend us a hand with our genocidal monsters in charge. A cult of death controls your government, the media, the courts, the corporations, religions, the bank and stock market, medicine and food production. Then again, maybe the Anuna are simply due back to collect dues from their designated tax collectors. George Lucas was right. The empire is real. Back 6,400 years ago, when El of the Egyptians and Canaanites moved from Leo to Orion, the Jews of Babylon remembered a great comet descending the axis. At that time, the axis of the first of Aries was the Milky Way. And today the fall will come from 90 degrees away. Watch for the rise of a phoenix and the fall of a dragon, or vice versa, depending on your hemisphere. By this time next month, Comet Swan R2 will be a quarter the distance from Earth to the Sun and roughly in our path. And 10 days later, that visitor from outside the solar system will be closest to the Sun, where we can't really track it. I think it might prove interesting, especially with folks who believe in ET. At this time, a precession ago, cavemen in Lascaux were leaving us a record of a reversal in which Pegasus turned over, like Genesis 49:17, with the sky falling from the first of Aries at Pegasus, where it is today. That's where a claw of the god of the north fell to rake us with stones from above. And that concept formed the Proto-Sinaitic letter Kaf, which today implies the eye of a needle, the sun, revolutions, and a circle, all of which adds up to a cosmic mystery, doesn't it? Like Job 39:18, Matthew 19:24, Mark 10:25, and Luke 18:25. Kaf, for one people, became a phi for the Greeks and a viper for the Egyptian letter F. And the latter were hints of a pole shift. Genesis 8:7, Isaiah 24:20, Wisdom 3:7. I was struck by the similarity of these three scenes. The statue is from Morelos de Jalisco, Mexico. The drawing is Mayan from the Dresden Codex. And if you envision the Aries dragon as Planet X descending from Aquarius, after it has circled the sun in Leo, you can see how Earth gets spun around in its presence. And if you look back at the Sumerians and the Taino, the myths and cave paintings make a big deal of a blue necklace around the head of their goddess, Inanna or Atabe, associating planet X with the orbit of Venus. Whether astronomically or astrologically, we are in for a very special moment come Sunday. I believe we are about to suffer what they call the Lord's Day, as when Cronus ate his children except for Jupiter, whom he immolated to remember his father Uranus. So now he wants to take out his scythe and mow us down. Can you see how the trident of energies is running ass backwards from what you might expect from Neptune there at the bottom? 23rd is the day Jews and Christians are looking for a Messiah or two. An astrologer friend looked at the charts and said, 1, 2, 3, 4 yods? What a total shit show. Okay, she had a lot more to say, but that's what stuck with me. The stone suggests the sky is about to reverse in the presence of the visitors arriving like a string of pearls from on high, as once they did at an Orion equinox. I'm not sure why Turkey UFO report was complaining about a giant red sun. I'm colorblind, so I just don't see it. All I could discern was that big blue blob that I highlighted. I believe that is how Planet X appears, a big planet about to block our view of the sun. That particular object historically preceded a barrage of space rocks, the red dust of Adam, and poisoned waters because of the iron content. Do you remember Dr. Paul LaViolette's Earth Under Fire? I believe we are about to hit the galactic wave that shoots this way at long intervals, like a spiral of the galaxy reaching out to whip us, or a ray from the galactic center headed this way via a distant supernova upsetting our sun. Some of the stones show Sirius going off in this time. Here's somebody's idea of what the coming solar eclipse will look like in the South Pacific. But I think it's the moment the Aztec calendar stone was talking about. Do you see the angry sun Tonatiuh sticking out his tongue? I believe this is the Alpha Omega moment Jesus was talking about, the one reflected on the Ojuelos stone adopted by the Illuminati. The eye will return to the axis at the first of Aries or the autumn equinox at Leo Virgo, though whether that reference is primarily spatial or temporal remains to be seen. In other words, we might see the 3 days of darkness now or 6 months from now. The stones are not clear. One of these days, the sky won't look like what the computers are saying. The sun will be at the wrong angle. Up and down the world, coastlines will be shifting. Much less land for the north, much more land for the south, while some of us have to pass below the ocean. I'm pretty sure Chris Bledsoe had no idea his prophecy would entail a pole reversal, but otherwise, I'm not sure how events near the autumn equinox are suddenly to be expected in springtime. Each year, this prophecy appears a little more accurate. For example, the current birth of Mars seems to be the one John the Baptist talked about as endgame. Meanwhile, Netanyahu's foreign policies for Israel and the United States Armed Forces, his arm of foreign mercenaries, is centrally geared to pissing off the rest of the planet. It's sure to set off Isaiah 17 and Ezekiel 38. Remember 3.5 years after the Abraham Accords of September 15, 2020, he was firing off bombs and missiles at his neighbors. Sound like anyone in the Bible? Look at Daniel 11 and 12. 8 years ago, defense intel analysts for hire at Deagle were saying this year doesn't end well. Their report was rich in data and short on assumptions. I asked an AI to sum up the casualties by region. And as you can see, Christianity and Islam get slammed pretty hard. Similar to Israel, about to lose half its population. What I've been saying for as long as I can remember is that all the signs are here for endgame. It is now time to end the 4th Ram, the 5th Ahau, the 7th Sar, the 12th Age, the 16th petal of the chrysanthemum. The final battle of good and evil is due to repeat history's first battle at Tel Megiddo. Look at the stones if they speak to you. What they tell me is that the 5th son of the Mesoamericans is about to die in a spasm of violence, a time of great flaring in the presence of visitors. At the pole of the universe, a Lamb of God is destined to show up raining destruction on us. That he will come at this time when Neptune and Saturn are atop Pisces and a red star appears below Virgo. That our avatar is due back any day now. That earth and sky will rock in different directions and we will end up on a different ecliptic. Some of the stones show a galactic event like a nova going off. Others that we will have rocks from heaven and people flying. A third of the earth suffers terribly. Perhaps it all happens in a rush and they call it rapture. Well, I pray you can keep your calm when the world around us is in a panic. Hashem bless you and keep you now and forever. Take care.